My name is Liesl Freudenstein, and welcome back to our weekly reviews on the YouTube channel for the Boulder Bookstore. Please subscribe. Here at the bookstore, we have noticed an influx of adults buying books related to the Black Lives Matter and the current events that are occurring all across our nation today. So I thought that I would point out that there are some kids' books that might help explain or motivate or just comfort your younger people in your household. The first two that I wanted to talk about are much more hopeful. It's called Counting on Community. It is part of the series that A is for Activists is. This is actually a counting book about what it means to be a community and how you can help be a community, something simple as drawing on sidewalk. It is a counting book, so living in a community is lots of fun. Let's count the ways. Let's start with one stuffed pinata. So it goes on, it's a counting book. Lots of great pictures, lots of good messaging in it. Peter Reynolds is one of my favorite authors, actually. He's just a delight, but he does have he has a book called Say Something, which also sort of, it's not just if you see something, say something. It's also if you feel something beautiful, write a poem. If you see a blank canvas, paint a picture. So there is that, but there is also words about if you see something, say something, because we all need to be kind. And it says, keep saying it, and you may be surprised to see the whole world is listening. A couple of books that are just sort of celebrating Black culture. The book, the Kwame Alexander and Kadir Nelson book, Undefeated, actually won the Caldecott last year. It is poems, and it's celebrating the strength and the resiliency of Black lives. So it's actors, activists, and sports figures, as well as just all sorts of wonderful and fabulous people. And it is a poem, and it is absolutely stunningly beautiful, so I recommend that one. Another one of my favorite ones celebrating Black culture is Black as a Rainbow Color. The author's note at the back describes how she was talking to her daughter about Black History Month, and her daughter said, but we're brown, we're not black. And she realized that what she meant by black was that it's also a culture, and so this is an ode to her daughter trying to explain what that means and how it came about. There's a glossary in the back that has words and further reading and poems and even a playlist, which is pretty sweet. I like the art a lot. It is kind of done in this stunning stained glass window sort of look to it, so all the colors of the rainbows are separated by the very important and prominent black lines. Great book, gorgeous book. Moving into the middle grade segment, there are books that are slightly more serious, a little less about activism and a little more about the culture and what is happening today, what it means to be a black child. Specifically boys, as it turns out. I just noticed that. So Nick Stone's, this is actually is a pretty fun book. It's a great book. Scoob goes on a traveling trip with his Gma in their camper van, but they are traveling through the South, so you do get a lot of information on the South and desegregation, and they are using the Green Book in order to do their travels, so you do get history of that. If you want to explore more about how we got here and Jim Crow laws and things like that, this is an excellent book. It's a delight to read, and I actually listened to it, and it was a great listen to if you prefer audiobooks. Jerry Craft won a Newbery Award for his book The New Kid a couple of years ago, and it is a graphic novel, so that's good. And basically, seventh grader, his parents send him to a privileged white school instead of the neighborhood school, and so it's his experiences with microaggression, well-meaning liberals trying to figure out and navigate their way around. They're such subtle little ones, like most of the teachers can't seem to remember his name and keep calling him the other black kid's name. So it's just sort of really gentle and pervasive how this racism happens, and it's him navigating that experience. They also think he can play sports, and he can't. He's a drawer. he is a cartoonist, and so it's done really well in that format because he's also keeping a journal in which he is journaling, but it's in comic book form. So if you haven't seen this, you should take a look at it. It's really, really great. Black Brother came out earlier this year, and it is by Jewell Parker Rhodes. And it is actually a similar situation in that a young boy, is going to a school that is predominantly white and sort of out of his neighborhood. It's a great story, really well written, and that is another one. Black Brother just came out. Another book that won an award in the past couple of years was this book, 1919, The Year That Changed America. It did win the National Book Award for children's literature, and it is a history book about the year 1919 and the extreme upheaval and changes that America went through, because not only was it prohibition, labor strikes, and women's suffrage, but it also includes something called the Red Summer, which was race riots and violence against black people as they came back from the war. That was so horrific, that they do have a name for it. It's called the Red Summer. It is a nonfiction book. It is history. There's lots of pictures. And it also touches on things that haven't changed that maybe ought to, or sort of 2 steps forward, 1 step back sort of process. It's excellent, and we actually have it here on sale at the bookstore. If you prefer your history to be more fictional, we do have this book, Saving Savannah, which actually takes place in 1919, about this young privileged woman who discovers that all is not what she thought it was. It's a wonderful book. It's poetic and heartbreaking and bold, and very interesting and a fascinating look on this time period, 1919. Another sort of companion fiction and nonfiction book that struck me as sort of being interesting is a book called We Are Not Yet Equal, Understanding Our Racial Divide by Carol Anderson. This is based a young adult version of her book White Rage. So it takes a timely and provocative look at an undertold history of black lives and race divide in America. And so that's that one. And a fictional look at it would be All American Boys. This won the Coretta Scott King Award in the year that it came out. It's told by 2 authors, so Jason Reynolds and Brendan KIELY are telling 2 points of view. A young man goes into a bodega and gets beaten by a white cop. So the witness knows the cop and can't quite believe that that's what happened. And so it's one pivotal event that happens one night and how it changes the views and the perceptions and divides people and brings them together, and it was just absolutely outstanding. So I think this would be an interesting pair up. And then we have 2 other books that came out while we were closed. Jason Reynolds and Ibrahim X. Kendi have a book stamped. It is once again a young adult version of their adult book stamped. Racism, Anti-Racism, and You. It says on the back, this is not a history book. This is a book about the here and now, and it's a book about race. So if you have kids who want to do that, it is a teen book. I do want to say that, but I presume you know your child and perhaps you would like to read it to them. Another book is Poems to Empower, based on the hashtag Say Her Name movement and the Black Lives Matter cause. This is powerful words demanding equal justice done in poems. It's a lovely little trim size, and it is beautiful. It's wonderfully done. So thank you for listening. I hope that helps in this time. And we do these reviews once a week, so if you subscribe to our Boulder Bookstore YouTube channel, you can see some more next week. Thanks. Bye.